Welcome back everyone, and today I will finally be unboxing my Tetsuya Kuroko Sadine Basketball Club figure. This is by Megahouse. I'm not 100% sure what scale this is. I want to say it's 1/8 scale. He's about only 8 inches taller, so he's not very big. But there was a lot of detail put into him, hence why he is one of the more popular figures for this series. So I've had this for a while. I bought it used from Mandarake, I believe. So just to get a good look at the box. I think the box makes a good display. I've had him displayed in it for a while. I've honestly not had much desire to open him because the box is just such a good display piece that if you are the type to want to display figures in boxes, this is probably one of the better ones. I'm trying to get y'all a good angle of all the sides of the boxes, but right now it's a little bit awkward. So yeah, since he's used, he's already been opened from the top, so I didn't have to split the tape or anything. I'll just carefully pull him out, hopefully, or I'll try. And I do apologize if you can hear my brother in the other room. I think he's playing video games with his friends, and he is not quiet about it. Although I do have my own room in this new house, we are right across the hall from each other, and there's a huge gap under our doors. So I still hear everything. I think it's kind of funny with this series because Kuroko, while he definitely seems to be the favorite overall, I see a lot of dedication for the other characters, which is fine. A lot of the characters in Kuroko's basketball are really, really funny and enjoyable to watch, so it doesn't surprise me that a lot of people kind of gravitate towards the side characters, especially those members from the Generation of Miracles. I really liked Kuroko. I thought he was super funny, and the fact that he gets forgotten a lot of the time and just sneaks up on people to scare them is super funny to me. So it was kind of disappointing that towards the end of the show it really wasn't about him. It was about the message he was trying to portray, but the focus really kind of died from him, even though he's the main character, especially in that movie. As cool as that ending scene was, there really was not much focus in the movie for him, which was disappointing. So here's the really cool base. It looks like the gym floor, and it has his name and jersey number, and then the bottom has Megahouse 2013, made in China, as well as some other Japanese words. So as I've stated many times, figures even used from Japan or Japanese collectors are often in such high quality that they're practically new. He's very light. I'm surprised. I kind of was expecting him to be the same weight as maybe those free figures that I got from Alter. But this is Megahouse, and I've heard sometimes they can get pretty cheap. But he looks so good. There's so much detail on his shoes. Well, maybe not the bottom, but like in the side of his shoes. His hair is super spiky, which is great. There's so many details and folds in his uniform. It's just super cool. And then the basketball, of course. It has the grainy texture of a real basketball, which is really cool. Feels kind of hollow though. Light. This whole figure is just really light. It looks like it has a lot of weight to it, but it's significantly lighter than I was expecting. The expression is really good too. He has this kind of dead looking expression. His right foot has the holes for the pegs, so hopefully I can align them perfectly. Interesting is that one of the pegs is plastic, the other one is a metal bar. And there we go. But one thing that did worry me about getting this figure is that his pose is just very leany, which I thought might increase the chance of him actually leaning over time. So if you're not aware, some figures are prone to leaning due to the fact of their position. For example, if they're in a pose like this where they're already leaning to the side over time, especially if you live somewhere where there's heat, that might affect it, and the plastic might melt over time just very slowly. It'll start leaning the direction that it already is. It's just something that sometimes happens. Usually it's an easy fix. You can put it in warm water and bend it back, but I would prefer not to have to do that at all. So when I was trying to decide whether or not I should buy this figure, that was one of my main concerns. But you know what? I think he would be worth it. This is such a cool figure. I love the dynamic pose. I think this is only the second figure that I've ever gotten that has such a pose like this dynamic, other than Mikatsuki. The sculpt is perfect. Not really much to talk about with the paint, as his uniform is pretty simple, so it doesn't really need or leave room to have do more close-up shots of figures without any narration, just because I've at this point gotten so many figures that it's all kind of the same. For the most part, I've been lucky in getting figures that have really good paint jobs, so the only real thing to talk about is the details in the sculpt and the posing. Kuroko makes for an awesome figure to have if you are a fan of dynamic poses. Overall, this figure is 100% a great interpretation of Kuroko Tetsuya. Now, just for fun, here are the two Kuroko Tetsuya figures that I now currently own. I have the 1/8 scale, and then this one, I don't think it has a solid scale. It's just one of the big figures. I forget which company. I think it's called Master Stars, part of the Master Star series. He is a tall boy. He's about 11, a little over 11 inches tall. So as you can see, he's significantly taller than this Kuroko. Not only that, but his head just has a rounder shape. It very much has the style of Shonen Jump versus this Kuroko, which is more akin to the anime, where they kind of fix those artistic details. I definitely think the paint job is a lot more stylistic and a little more realistic in my opinion with this Kuroko, just because as you can see his basketball looks worn out because of the faded color, whereas this one just has a more orange animated look to it. Detail wise in the sculpt though, they both are really good. So a lot of this has to do with the fact that the scale is just different, but the foot to leg ratio is very noticeable to me. It just looks a lot wackier on this bigger Kuroko. So why am I doing this comparison? Well, when I was first deciding on getting a Kuroko figure, I was really intending to just buy the Nendoroid because it is coming out soon. I have pre-ordered it actually. It's just so adorable. I'm excited to get it, but I was really hoping to get something more dynamic because Kuroko is from a basketball sports anime, and I wanted to have him portrayed that way in my collection. So I was on the fence about which one to get because these are the two most prominent popular figures for Kuroko. At first I was just going to buy this one because he is only $30. It may have increased in price, I'm not 100% sure, and I'm sure it depends on where you get him. I got him from eBay for $20, so I got a really good deal on him, and that included shipping. But in other places you may find him for $30. He released for only about $20, I want to say, but then you have to consider that people ordered him straight from Japan, so they had to pay that extra shipping fee. Overall though, he was significantly cheaper, and still is, compared to this Kuroko, who is from a more prominent company of figure makers and is intended as a collectible figure. considering he's so small, the detail and quality of it is just really good, and that makes up for it despite the smaller size. Not to mention the pose is just a lot better. Kuroko, I did enjoy over here that he does have this jacket. Also, he stands on his own. This figure comes with this little stand over here that you put behind his foot, but really he can stand on his own. You don't need anything to hold him up, and he's pretty secure. This one for sure you would need him on the base. But anyway, I did like this jacket. So they both have their neat qualities to them. I think if you were just looking for something cheap, this one would be the way to go. However, again, the reason I was on the fence is because I did want that dynamic myths of his past pose, like he's in a basketball game. So this Kuroko was $50. I got him from Mandarake, which is a secondhand store that you can shop on online. I did buy other things with it, so the shipping kind of got divided. But overall, I would say I paid $10 more for shipping, so he would maybe be about $55 to $60 is how much I probably paid for this guy. I definitely think he's worth it for that price. I think when he came out, he was around $90. Could be wrong. Please don't quote me on that. But yeah, he's obviously the pricier option. So which one should you get if you're a Kuroko's basketball fan? And I still say I think it really depends. I do like both. As I'm looking at both of them now, my main gripe with this one is that it's so much smaller, so it'll look just not as imposing on my shelf, because right now I have really tall figures up there. I have a 1/7 and a 1/8, but the 1/8 is Mikazuki, and with the giant rose and sword flying everywhere, he just doesn't look as impressive. This one, I really was not a fan of Kuroko's expression. While he does make some intense expressions when he's like super pissed, they're not often enough that I think I would want that expression on a figure of him. His signature look is that dead-eyed, cold, blue-eyed stare. And that's what I really liked about this figure, is that it has that rounded out stare. This one, while cool, it definitely leaves the wrong impression to me. If someone walked into my room, saw this, and immediately tried to make an assumption about the character and the series. Like if they went to go read the series, they'd probably be blindsided by the fact that the main character is not this intense looking guy that probably punches people because he's so tall. That portrayal of the character that I like is what kind of was turning me off from this one. And this one does come in a second version with his black uniform, and it comes with his dog. But I did like the cape, hence why I got the white one, because originally I just really wanted Kuroko in the black uniform. So that's the only reason I bought that one, because the cape was cool, it was cheaper, and I figured this is the only one I'll get. But then I kept seeing this one go on sale, and eventually Temptation won over. So I'm going to think about how I'm displaying these and which one I enjoy the most, and probably sell back the other one just because I don't want a lot of figures of the same guy. I already have a shrine over there for Mikazuki. That's as much as I want. But overall, if you're a Kuroko fan, both figures are great. It really depends on what you're looking for. Do you want one that's really imposing, something to display in front of your manga? This thing is really good for manga displays because it's a lot taller than manga, whereas he would be probably just as tall as the manga. Do you want something super dynamic to make a scene, or do you just want your favorite character and are fine with him just standing there so long as he's huge? Quality-wise, they're both pretty good. This one is significantly heavier because he's taller, and the material he's made out of, I think they put a lot more weight to it. He does come apart. I had to put his legs together as well as the coat. So there is that feature. If you don't want this coat on him, you can take it off. There is the threat of paint transfer. That was the one downside. While this Kuroko comes with a blister, this one does not. It just comes in a box that if you bought him new or from a collector that kept it, has a bag with sections in it, so you can put the individual pieces together there without paint transfer worries. When I got him from the eBay seller, he did have a lot of paint transfer on him, but just rubbing like an eraser over it removed it. The problem with that is that you may also remove the paint, so there's that. Overall, it doesn't look as polished on this one because it's just not the highest quality paint, I'm assuming. There are some mistakes, especially with these lines. I can see some wiggles. It's not as sharp as this one. His hair has these little white highlights, which is why I think it's probably based on the manga. I'm sure it is, versus the anime. And just the overall shape of his head is very different compared to this Kuroko, at least to me. It's a lot rounder. He has a giant head. And again, there's the expression. So think about it if you're a Kuroko fan and decide which one is best for you and whether or not you want to save up for the best Kuroko that there is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video.